sitting in a cage in a corner. And there was one thing which was the thing that perhaps first opened my eyes in a big way to what was going on. I'd only been in Tashkent for a couple of weeks at this stage. An old man was giving evidence, and he'd given a written statement to police in which he said that 2 of the accused, who were his nephews, had been in Al-Qaeda training camps in Afghanistan where they had personally met Osama bin Laden. In giving evidence in court, he said, he suddenly, like everyone else, he seemed absolutely terrified. But he suddenly seemed to have an inner strength, and he stood much taller. And he said, "This is not true. This is not true. They tortured my children in front of me until I signed this. We are good Muslims, but we are poor farmers from Andijan. What do we know about Osama bin Laden?" And I can't entirely explain it to you because it's partly intuitive, it's not entirely rational. But in that moment, I was very close to him when he said that. You could just tell he was speaking the truth. And he was quite probably signing his own death warrant when he said it. But the West had shown no interest at all in human rights in Uzbekistan. So the fact that the British ambassador had turned up, who was going to cotton farms and asking about the condition of the workers, and he was going to try and see what was happening, really caused quite a stir. Because, as in every country in the world, in Burma now, for example, there was an underground dissident movement of very brave people, many of whom were in and out of jail on a sort of cat and mouse basis. Because they'd been completely ignored by the West for so long, it came as a kind of ray of hope to them that I'd turned up and was at least someone was showing some interest. So they started coming to me. I didn't have to go to them. And they started coming to me with evidence of torture. That's mostly what they came to tell me about. And they came with the people who had been tortured themselves came to see me, show me physical marks of torture. The family of people who had been tortured, people with photographic evidence of torture, and we even started to get letters smuggled out of the jails and gulags. And Amnesty International reckoned there are 8,000 prisoners of conscience in Uzbekistan and 1,000 political prisoners. I think that's actually probably an underestimate. PEN, the group that campaigns for imprisoned writers, have more Uzbek writers on their books than any other nationality. You can imagine that. But we started to get all this evidence of torture, and one of the first things that came was an envelope containing photographs. There were photographs of a prisoner who's actually a member of Hizb ut-Tahrir, who had been in the Jazlik gulag. His body had been delivered back to his mother in a sealed casket, and she'd been ordered not to open the casket, but to bury the body the next day, still sealed. But she felt there were certain religious duties to be carried out before the body was buried, by way of washing the body. So together with the person in my village who washed bodies, in the middle of the night they got the casket open, got the body out, and then they took detailed photographs of it. And these are the photographs that came on to me. I saw them, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I couldn't work out what had happened to this man. So I sent the photographs off to the pathology department of the University of Glasgow. They did the report. But the man who did the report, by coincidence, is today the chief pathologist of the United Kingdom. And his report said that the man's fingernails had been ripped out, he'd been beaten about the face and neck, and he died of immersion in boiling liquid. And it was immersion, not splashing, because there was a clear tide line around the upper torso and upper limbs, and 100% scalding underneath. He'd been boiled alive. Now, I sent... I'd only been in Tashkent for a month or so, and I was getting more and more evidence of torture. And it was plain torture was happening on an industrial scale. It wasn't happening to dozens or scores, or even hundreds of people a year. It's happening to thousands of people a year. And I sent all this evidence back to London. And London were getting very angry with me because I was meant to be supporting our ally. I wasn't meant to be investigating human rights abuses. And I'll never forget the reply I received from London, which said, "Dear Ambassador, we are concerned that you are over-focused on human rights." Which